is brought to you by Head Start Basketball.
Hello and welcome to the 9th edition of the Coach's Corner Roundtable on the Hoopheads podcast. Each episode of the Coach's Corner Roundtable will feature our all-star lineup of guests answering a single basketball question. A new Coach's Corner Roundtable will drop around the 15th of each month. September's Roundtable question is, what is your number one habit that helps you be successful as a coach? Our coaching lineup this month includes Rob Brost from Bolingbrook High School, Erik Buehler from Chatfield Senior High School, Chris DeLisio from Olmsted Falls High School, Jeff Depelteau from the Berkshire School, Jason Frye from Pure Sweat Basketball, Bobby Jordan from Wagner College, Dell Leonard from Mountain Home High School, Mark Schultz from the University of West Georgia, Don Showalter from USA Basketball, John Schulman from the University of Alabama Huntsville, and Joe's Decision from Unleashed Potential in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy this roundtable episode of the Hoopheads podcast, and once you're finished listening, please give the show a 5-star rating and review. Make sure you're subscribed to the Hoopheads pod so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube. If you haven't already, please tell a coaching colleague or friend about the Hoopheads podcast so they can listen and learn from some of the best minds in the game. Rob Brost, Bolingbrook High School, Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Good morning, everybody. This is Rob Broast, head boys basketball coach at Bolingbrook High School, here on the Hoops Head Pod Roundtable. This is Roundtable number 9, and an interesting topic for everybody, really. The number one habit that helps you be a successful coach. I don't know if being a successful coach boils down to one thing, but several years ago, probably 10 to 12 years ago, I had a complete mind shift as far as a coach. I went from, collecting plays and really worrying about what we were running and those types of things, and I would just call coaches and say, what do you do with this offense? What do you do with this defense? And the mind shift came when I moved my thinking from plays to players and moved my thinking from the basketball aspect to a people aspect. And so we started to have a much higher rate of success when that mind shift happened. And it wasn't just one thing. I think it was a gradual maturation for me as a coach. And I truly believe that, when you have an interaction with anybody, whether it's your players, your administration, your assistant coaches, and this transfers into life as well, with your kids, your spouse, your coworkers, your colleagues, that when you have an interaction with people, you are either building rapport with that person or you're tearing the rapport down. And so what has been super beneficial to me and our program, but mostly to me as an individual person, even more so as a coach, is that the understanding that this is about people, and this is about how you treat people and how you demand accountability from your players specifically, but at the same time, if they need a hug, you got to give them that. If they need a day off, you need to give them that. If they need to go out to lunch with you, you need to give them that. And mostly what people want from you as a coach is your time. And are you spending time with people, or are you investing time with people? And when that mind shift happened for me gradually 10, 15 years ago, I think I became a much better coach. And I always believe now that it's not what you do, but how you do it. And so, obviously there's a lot of things that go into being a successful coach at the high school level and doing things the right way. But it all starts with how you treat people, and more specifically, how you treat your players. And do you spend time with them, or do you invest time with them? And they know the difference. And I think once that mind shift really fully took place, and I truly believed that and bought into that fully, that's when our success at Bolingbrook High School really went to the next level. So That's my biggest piece of advice, or actually you would say the number one habit. I know the easy thing to say would be, well, read books, attend clinics, and all of those things are important, but ultimately how you treat people is the standard bearer for your success. And ultimately it's not your success, so I'm not so sure I'm a successful coach, but I sure hope that I've built relationships over the years that'll last a lifetime, not only with my players, but with colleagues, with friends, those types of things as well. So once again, it's basketball and it's life all wrapped into one. And I could certainly go on and on and on about habits that I have that I think help make me to be a quote-unquote successful coach, but I think it's all about the people, and it's all about the interactions that you build on every single day. Are you building rapport with that individual, or is that building a wall towards that person's growth and your growth ultimately? So it's always great to be on the Hoops Head podcast. It's a wonderful thing for basketball, and I encourage everybody to listen each month. Thank you so much for having me, and have a great day.
Erik Buehler, Chatfield Senior High School, Littleton, Colorado.
This is Erik Buehler of Chatfield Senior High School. And this week we were asked to answer the question, what is your number one habit that helps you find success as a coach? For me, the number one habit I think I have that leads to success is constantly seeking out the answers to the why and the what. What works for us, what doesn't work for us, what can we do to improve? Why am I not getting this group of kids to buy in? What can I do to improve that relationship with that group of kids? I'm always a very curious person, and I want to know why things work and why they don't work. And if there's a better way of doing it, I want to see it or find it. So for me, that's what helps me find success in basketball. Thank you for having me on.
DeLisio, Olmsted Falls High School, Olmsted Falls, Ohio.
Hey guys, DeLisio from Olmsted Falls, and appreciate you having me on again. Thinking about our number one habit that helps me be successful with our program, I think, is just the ability to be organized and to kind of apply that to everything that we do. I think that, you take a lot of stress away when you're able to keep yourself organized, especially as a head coach. There's so many hats you have to wear and so many things that you got to be a part of. Making sure you're organized is really a big part of the success in that. I think it goes all the way from, obviously practice planning is a huge part of that, but also carries over to things like planning your summer camp and keeping that running smoothly with your youth or your youth programs, whether it's leagues or different kinds of camps that you run, keeping track of money as a head coach, or planning everything during your season, and having your locker room organized and game prep. And I just think there's so many areas where you can really get rid of some headaches as a head coach and make sure your players are seeing that you're organized, and it kind of helps in so many different parts of your program. So I'd say for us, I would think that if I was talking to a young coach who really wanted to succeed, I'd encourage them to really get themselves together and make sure that all the things that they want to succeed in their program are organized, and it's going to help just year after year. Thanks a lot, guys.
Jeff Depelteau, the Berkshire School in Sheffield, Massachusetts.
Hello, Hoopheads. This is Jeff Depelteau from the Berkshire School in Sheffield, Massachusetts. This month's roundtable question is, what is your number one habit that helps you be successful as a coach? And for me, this is definitely being proactive. This relates to every aspect of the programs that I work in, from working with parents and players, thinking about the issues that are kind of coming down the pipeline for them and what's on their plate. And this may be anything from playing time to college options and how I can help best support them through any step. When it comes to the other coaches in the program, how you can best support them and help them. If I'm an assistant coach, how can I best help the head coach what's coming, what issues does the head coach have to deal with, and how can I support him or her through that? If I'm a head coach, how can I help my assistants grow as coaches and prepare them at some point to be head coaches? When you're talking about planning, this is schedule planning, practice planning, and just thinking about how you want to best set up your team for success. And when you're talking about game schedules, you're talking about, how are these games going to impact the team later in the season? How does it prepare them for potential postseason? And just to get them peaking at the right time. When it comes to practices, where do you want to get to by the end of the practice? What do you want to accomplish? And how do you really lay out that map step by step every day, each practice, even week to week, month to month, and how does it look throughout a season? All right. Hope that helps everybody out there. Really looking forward to contributing again next month. Take care, everybody.
Jason Frye, Pure Sweat Basketball.
Good morning, Hoopheads Nation. This is Coach Jay Frye addressing the roundtable question of what is your number one habit that helps you be successful as a coach. I think that is a two-part answer, and in which we're going to address the first one right here. Grab a pen, get a notebook, get a notepad, get a spiral. It doesn't matter. Just get something that you can write in. Write your questions, write your answers, write the drills you see and that you like. Write the whys at which you see other people doing their drills. If I see a coach doing 3-man weave, I'm going to ask why the heck you're doing that. And hopefully you have an answer. So the more whys can create better problem solving for you as a coach. The second piece will be to find a coach, a mentor, a manager, a leader at which you enjoy learning from. You see a ton of potential in them at which you want to be more like. And find them, ask them questions, search them out. There's a ton of phenomenal coaches. Take advantage of using social media to try to figure out ways at which you can connect with them. And then if you can, ask them a ton of questions. Most successful coaches are phenomenal at getting back with you, at giving back to this game. I hope this helped. God bless. Have a great day.
Bobby Jordan, Wagner College, Staten Island, New York.
One habit that allows me to be successful as a coach is the habit of organization. Something that's overlooked a lot of the times in the coaching profession, just because a lot of the times things come so naturally to us as coaches, especially if we've played the game before or been around the game a long time. But being organized, for instance, in your practice planning, knowing what you're going to do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, can really help out your team. You know what you need to get out of your team on a daily basis, and you've already thought about it. You're not just walking into practice 15 minutes before and just putting something together. So just staying organized in your practice plans, I think, is key, and something that I've really worked on over the past couple of years. Another thing where I think, the habit of organization comes into play is in recruiting, knowing who you're going to recruit, when you're going to recruit them, where, who you need to be in contact with in terms of the recruiting process. Just being organized in that can really help you in the long run, help you in the recruiting process, just because it allows you not to miss things. It allows you to be on top of everything and everybody that you need to be on top of in order to land that recruit.
Dell Leonard, Mountain Home High School, Mountain Home, Arkansas.
The number one habit that I think helps me to be more successful is always trying to learn, whether it's reading a book from a successful coach or someone who's a great leader, attending clinics, always visiting with other coaches, and even listening to podcasts. I think those are things that we can do to try to help ourselves be successful. Obviously, the great ones communicate. They're passionate. They're positive. They're great role models. They understand timing and they're humble. Just to mention a few, but I believe the best coaches are always trying to better themselves, and they're learning, and that even goes to learning from past mistakes. We all make mistakes, but as long as we have the best of intentions or our kids or our team's best interests at heart, then I think we just learn from our mistakes. Again, best coaches are always trying to better themselves by learning. I believe that, and Don Meyer said, when you're through learning, you're through.
Mark Schultz, University of West Georgia.
Hey, Mark Schultz here, University of West Georgia. September roundtable question. What is your number one habit that helps you be successful as a coach? I think the number one habit, trying to break it down, would be just being there on time and being the first person to the gym consistently. To the gym, to the weight room, to conditioning sessions, depending on whatever your team does. When you're the first one there, I think it does a couple things. First, it shows the players that you're committed, that whatever activity you're at, even if you're not necessarily the lead coach, is important to you. The second way it benefits as a coach is you can kind of see who's showing up when, and being there first and making that a habit really helps with this, because then you get to see the patterns of who's showing up on time and who's showing up late and who's showing up, still sleeping for the early morning stuff. But if you don't get there first, consistently, it's really hard to measure the order of attendance from the guys. So number one habit that helps you be successful, just being first and being on time. Thanks.
Don Showalter, USA Basketball.
Hi, Don Showalter here with USA Basketball. The question for this month was, what habits are important for a coach to be successful? When I was a younger coach, one of the things that my mentor, a coach who had been coaching for quite a few years in high school, had told me was that he has a habit of each day working a little bit on basketball. Some days it might only be 5 minutes, some days it might be hours, but each day he spends some time, whether it be going over a practice plan, whether it be reading a book about basketball or just his thought process. So he said he got in a habit of doing that, and he said that it really helped him just stay focused on some of the things that he thought was important in the game. So I've always taken that literally as well myself. And I think I spend a little bit each day on some facet of the game of basketball. So I would say that's one thing, that's one habit that has helped me out tremendously. I think reading good books about basketball too is, or leadership or communication is really important. I think getting in a habit of reading a little bit each day is important. Thank you.
John Schulman, University of Alabama Huntsville, and the 720 Sports Group.
Yes, this is John Schulman. The question is, one habit that helps you be successful as a coach. First of all, I guess this is the best habit I got, is I don't think I've been very successful as a coach. So I would think that chip on my shoulder, always having to prove yourself, I think number one, it'll drive you absolutely batty and crazy. And two, that's what, hopefully, if I've had any success, that's what has helped me have success. It's the point on, it's fear of failure. It's always need to prove yourself. It's kind of like what they said about KD. He's always going to practice like he's trying to make the basketball team. I've always coached like that. I've always coached trying to prove myself. I would say continuing education. I've said this many times on different podcasts. We all ask our players to prove themselves and to work and improve and to get in the gym and work on their game. How many coaches do the same? How many coaches work on their game? How many coaches go to clinics? How many coaches are reading books? How many coaches are watching games on TV? I don't mind stealing things. I know my limitations. And so I know that I'm not real smart. So I spend an awful lot of time watching tape and an awful lot of time watching different games and just trying to steal things from other people. So I would say my best habit I could have for not being successful is probably not feeling that I've been very successful. So I can keep on learning and keep on moving forward and have that chip on your shoulder that makes you work every day to become better. Because once you get complacent, it's over in my world. Appreciate your time.
Joe's Decision. Unleash Potential, Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Joe's Decision. Unleash Potential. This month's question is, what is the number one habit that helps make you successful as a coach? For me, the number one habit that helps me be successful not only as a coach, but in everyday life is the acronym that I have used, which is RE-UP, which stands for Rapport, Explore, Understand, and Plan. Basically, it all starts with relationships and rapport. I feel in coaching, the first thing you have to do, whether it's with your team, if you're in player development, as a player development coach, or any type of coach, you have to establish a rapport with your players or whoever it is you may be working with. And I really believe that in life as a coach or in any profession that you're in, the first thing the habit that you first have to develop is being able to have great relationships with people. The second part of that, the E, is to explore. So if you're working with your team, you're working with an individual or a group of players or athletes, you have to explore and try to figure out what needs to be done to make them a better team or a better player. The third letter in the acronym is the letter U, which means once you develop a rapport with them and explore what needs to be done to make them better, the next thing you need to do is help them to understand what it is that they need to work on to become a better player or to become a better team. And the last thing, once you help them to understand that, you need to plan. And that is, I think a very, very important habit is having a plan, a detailed plan, a direction, a goal for the team, for the player, the individual, or the group, to become better. So, in developing a team or a player, helping to develop a team or a player, I really have always used that acronym RE-UP. I just think it's something that covers all areas of development. And again, it could also be applied to life in general, working with people or working with a team, whether it's business or athletics. In this case, in my career, I've tried to follow that plan. And probably the most important part of that, again, is relationships. I think, if you can't develop a relationship with someone, it's very hard to get them to do anything, to get the buy-in. I think that's very, very important. Probably the most important part of the re-up is the rapport or the relationship with people. I think that's a habit that you have to form to be able to develop good relationships with people if you want to see growth and development. So I think that for me, it's helped me to be successful, not only in coaching, but in relationships and dealing with people on various levels throughout my teaching, my coaching, my player development career. Thank you very much.
Thanks for checking out this month's roundtable. We'll be back next month with another question for our all-star lineup of coaches.
Thanks for listening to the Hoop Heads podcast, presented by Head Start Basketball.